As you know, Turtleboy, Aiden Carney, is being charged with a number of counts of witness intimidation. In fact, he's facing many, many years in jail if he gets convicted. So these are very serious charges. Now, one of the reasons that he's being charged is because he's told certain people, like the Alberts and the McCabe's, to tell the truth. That's literally what one of the charges of witness intimidation is based on, that he told certain people to tell the truth. So a lot of people have some issues with this, which is why I'm getting questions. How is that possible? That telling somebody to tell the truth is actually witness intimidation. That when you tell somebody, tell the truth, what you really mean to say is don't tell the truth. Or what you really mean to say is don't testify at all. How can that even be construed or misconstrued, right? So that's exactly what we're going to be breaking down today. So the place we have to start, I think the place we're going to start today anyway, is from the order, the opinion in the motion to dismiss. So there was a motion to dismiss that was filed by Turtleboy's defense team, and they allege a number of different reasons why the case would be dismissed. One of them is on First Amendment grounds, and some other of them is that there was not sufficient evidence to convict him to indict him at the grand jury level. Okay, so we're not going to go through the entire motion, and we're not going to go through the entire opinion. But there's one part of the opinion that I want to focus on where the judge analyzes this specific comment of Turtleboy, where he said, tell the truth, and somehow the judge is saying that could be construed as witness intimidation. Now, he does cite to a case. So he's citing to a case that, yes, somehow when you tell somebody to tell the truth, it could be construed as witness intimidation. So what do we have to do then? We have to look up the case. That's exactly what I did. I looked up the case and I read through the case. It's actually a pretty long opinion, but I'm not going to read the entire opinion for you. Don't worry about it. If you want, I'm going to let you know what the case name is so you can read the entire opinion. It's actually a very interesting case, a case filled with corruption at the highest level, embezzlement, extortion, laundering, all that good stuff, or I shouldn't say good stuff, but all that stuff. And you can see it all in this opinion. We're not going to be focusing on most of it. We're just going to be concentrating on some parts that have to do with witness intimidation. All right. So without any further ado, let's pull up the part of the opinion in Turtleboy's case where the judge talks about this idea, where he says to tell the truth. So here we go. Carney and his followers, now to talk about the road rally, Carney and his followers stopped outside of Brian Albert's residence in Norwood, Massachusetts. Brian is a retired Boston police officer and a witness in the Reed case. While at Brian Albert's residence, Carney used a bullhorn to call Brian Albert a murderer. Grand jury transcript, December 19th, 2023. Okay. At some point, Carney or his followers noticed Brian Albert had a camera outside his home and began to tell Brian that he better tell the truth and that he is a liar. Brian Albert testified that on that date, he believed Carney and his followers were attempting to intimidate him and his family. So that is that part of the opinion. Now, let's move on to where the judge actually analyzes this part of this statement under the law. Okay. Now, in many of his broadcasts and protests, Carney urges the witnesses to tell the truth, which he admits can certainly influence a witness and may obstruct or impede a proceeding. It would be reasonable for a fact finder to conclude that he is simply urging the witnesses to tell his version of the truth, and such speech can be found to influence a witness. So, when Turtleboy says tell the truth, he doesn't mean to say the actual truth. What he means to say is my version of the truth, which is actually a lie, right? That's what the logical steps have to be. Tell my version of the truth, which is not really the truth, because if it was really the truth, well, then I'm not trying to get you to impede justice. I'm trying to encourage and get the result of justice. But what could be understood, what a fact finder could conclude, is that he's urging the witnesses to tell his version of the truth, which is really a lie, and that such speech can be found to influence a witness. Now, where do we see that? Judge can't just make this out of thin air, right? We always got to cite some case law to that. So he cites United States versus Cruzado Laureano. So, and there it says, again, defendant's conviction of witness tampering stands because the jury could have found that the defendant was trying to persuade a witness to testify to something other than the witness's true beliefs. So in order to really understand this, we have to pull up the case. This is where it gets fun, okay? So we got to pull up. Now, if you want to read the entire case, you got it right there, United States versus Cruzado Laureano. You got the site there. You can look it up and read the entire case. It's actually a very interesting case filled with corruption, political corruption, embezzlement, extortion, money laundering, all that stuff. Really real abuse of power what this person did. But so here it is, United States versus Cruzado Laureano, and we're just going to be looking at some of the parts of this opinion. So it's a long opinion. You're just going to have to bear with me with some of the scrolling here. Okay, so now it goes through some of the background and then it says like this. Within a scant few weeks of becoming mayor, Cruzado began using his official position to embezzle and extort thousands of dollars from the municipality and from contractors who were working for the municipality. He then laundered the money in the Onadan bank account, this bank account that he set up. We now describe the particulars of his criminal activity. So we're not going to go through all of the particulars of his criminal activity, but if you're interested, you can definitely read through all of this. But we're going to point out certain parts that have to do with the witness intimidation. So here's the first instance. And you have here, Cruzado requested that Cristaliara, however you say that, perform some locksmithing and remodeling work on the building. And he asked Suevez for a price estimate. Suevez quoted a price of $5,814. Cruzado then told Suevez to add $2,000 to his quote and to give the extra money to him. All right, so you see the corruption here? The price is going to cost him $5,814. This is the mayor, by the way. Cruzado was the mayor. So he tells the guy, look, add another $2,000. We'll pay you $7,814. And guess what you're going to do with that extra $2,000? You're going to give it right to me. Okay, so that is what happened. And then, fearing that he might be cut off from future work if he disobeyed, Suevez obliged. And I hope I'm saying the name right. I think I am. But if I'm not, I'm sure people in the comments will correct me. Okay, so that's the first instance of his corruption. Now we're going to move on a little bit more. In early October 2001, Cruzado asked to meet with Suevez, telling him he had something important to discuss. He claimed that he was being audited and that he was nervous about the $2,000 check that Suevez had issued to Onadan. Cruzado told Suevez that if asked about the check, he should say that it was a repayment of a loan extended to him by Cruzado before becoming mayor. So you see what the problem here is? Cruzado is getting nervous that the cops are onto him. So what did he tell Suevez? Okay, how are we going to explain that $2,000 payment that you gave to me? So the only way that we can explain it is if I say, you know what, you gave it to me as a loan, that you were repaying a loan that I gave you before I became a mayor. And then there's nothing wrong with that. So you see what he's doing here. Okay. He's telling him what to say, coaching him what to say. Now, obviously that wasn't the truth. Okay, let's move on to another instance. Cruzado subsequently paid the CDT, again, another visit. And these are all, most of these have contracts with the government. And this is the mayor, Cruzado is the mayor, getting in the middle of all of it and making sure that they're padding some extra money for him that he can embezzle. All right, so now, Cruzado subsequently paid the CDT another visit to speak to Dr. Gonzalez, Dr. Rivera's partner. So there's two people here, Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Rivera. The two men were alone. So again, who is he speaking to? Dr. Gonzalez. And the two men were alone. Cruzado explained that his political party was trying to raise money through donations. So this is somebody that has a contract with the government, and then the mayor tells them, you know, just letting you know, we really need some money for my political party needs some money through donations. Feeling pressured by the mayor's authority and aware of the CDT's critical need for ambulance service from the municipality, Dr. Gonzalez told him that he would contribute, even though Dr. Gonzalez did not belong to the mayor's political party. At the time, however, Dr. Gonzalez did not give the mayor any money. So at the time, he didn't give him any money, but they had this conversation. Okay, so this is a conversation between Cruzado, who's the mayor, and Dr. Gonzalez, who's one of the partners of this entity who's doing business, who has a contract with the city. Moving on. Dr. Rivera testified that he knew nothing about the political contribution that Cruzado and Dr. Gonzalez had discussed, right? This was a conversation between Dr. Gonzalez and Cruzado. So Dr. Rivera knew nothing about it. According to the testimony, Dr. Rivera understood the payment to be for the air conditioner, right? Dr. Rivera wasn't part of that conversation. So he understood the payment to be for the air conditioner, which would have been illegal because whatever happened, I'm not going to go through all the facts here, but whatever happened, that was going to be some more of this embezzlement and extortion that Cruzado was engaged in. So Dr. Rivera thought it was for the the air conditioner. Dr. Gonzalez understood the payment to be the political contribution that he had discussed with the mayor earlier. Dr. Rivera then handed Cruzado a $5,000 check made out to Onadan. So the mayor came to pick up the money. Dr. Rivera thought it was for the air conditioning, and which was, again, if it was for the air conditioning, that was totally embezzlement and laundering and extortion, all that stuff. And if it was for a political donation, well, then they may have some other issues, but you can argue that that's not extortion. That is asking for a political donation. Okay. Later in October, while being investigated by the FBI, Cruzado spoke to Dr. Rivera. Cruzado told Dr. Rivera to tell the truth. Here we go. Tell the truth. So here you got Cruzado telling Dr. Rivera, tell the truth, which according to Cruzado was that the payment was a political donation. Dr. Rivera refused, saying that he would maintain that the payment was for the air conditioner as evidenced by the invoice. So there was an invoice that was created for the air conditioning. That is what Cruzado did. He created this invoice. He gave that invoice over to Dr. Rivera, which was very clearly for the air conditioning. And Dr. Rivera didn't know about this other conversation that he had with Dr. Gonzalez. And if you just look at the paperwork, everything is very clear that it's for air conditioning, which would then be embezzlement. Okay. But Cruzado told Dr. Rivera, hey, tell the truth about this payment. And Dr. Rivera said, no, I'm not telling you your truth, your made-up truth. I know what this payment is for. I know what the invoice is for. The invoice says very clearly what it's for. It's for an air conditioning, and that is what I'm going to testify to. And he wasn't part of any other conversations about it. Okay, so that is the tell the truth, where you have a case law where you see that that was actually construed as witness intimidation. Now, we got to go down a little bit because there's a lot going on here. Again, an interesting case if you want to read the entire case, but we're just going to get to where is relevant for us about witness intimidation. So you see all the counts here. They actually made a whole graph at the end of this opinion, if you're really interested. Now, let's take a look at this. Cruzado's argument is simple. All he did was urge witnesses to tell the truth, which is not a crime. According to the witnesses, Cruzado did ask that they tell the truth. However, his version of the truth that he urged upon them was anything but the truth. To Suevez, Cruzado described the $4,000 as repayment of a loan extended to Suevez before he became mayor. Right? We know that was a lie. At first, Suevez maintained that story in front of the FBI. He then changed his tune, admitting that the money was skimmed from the inflated bid he submitted to Vega Alta and the double payment he received in return. As for the doctors that we just spoke about, the jury was entitled to reject Cruzado's characterization of the $5,000 payment as a political contribution and instead find that the doctors' need for the mayor's good graces induced them to hand over the money. Even with respect to Dr. Rivera's testimony that he believed the money was for the air conditioner, as evidenced by the invoice he received, the jury could have found that Cruzado was trying to persuade a witness to testify to something other than his true beliefs. So here you have a situation where, look, all I'm telling, this is what Cruzado was arguing. Cruzado was saying, all I'm telling these people is to tell the truth. And this is what the judge in Turtleboy's case used this case to say, look, when you just tell someone to tell the truth, you can't just argue, well, I'm just telling them to tell the truth, because you see in this case that when you just tell someone to tell the truth, it could be construed as or interpreted as witness intimidation, that you want them to actually change their testimony. Now, the obvious difference here is that Cruzado was very clearly, absolutely 100% clearly trying to tell them to say not the truth, right? That he's trying to save himself. If you read through that opinion, it's filled with embezzlement, extortion, money laundering, and all that stuff. And here, it's very clear what he was doing. And now he's going to tell these people, almost like a commissioner would call in a rookie cop and tell them, do the right thing, tell the truth. That smells a lot more like witness intimidation, whereas opposed to, you have no interaction with the Alberts. You have no secrets or money laundering or anything that you're doing with the Alberts and the McCabe's in this situation. Here you have someone who's Turtleboy, who believes with all of his soul and all of his brains that Karen Reed is innocent and that there's a cover up here. That is what he believes 100%. And now he's telling people, you tell the truth. Is that trying to tell the witnesses to not say the truth? So the difference is very clear from that case and Turtleboy's case. But again, over there, it was very clear it was super clear, if you read that opinion, that Cruzado, what he was trying to do is get them to lie. And by saying tell the truth, it was a wink, wink, tell the truth. We very much want you to lie. That is what Cruzado was doing in that case. And it's as clear as day. Now, in this case, in Turtleboy's case, you can definitely distinguish it and say that's not what Turtleboy was trying to do at all. He wasn't trying to get them to lie. He wasn't trying to get them to not say the truth. He actually believed 100% what the truth is. And that's what he was trying to get them to do. And there was no other interactions that he had with these people. It wasn't like that he had these prior relationships and prior conversations like Cruzado had with the doctor and Cruzado had with these other Sueves, that they had a whole long-standing relationship beforehand and that they knew exactly what each other meant. They knew exactly what Cruzado wanted them to do. And by saying, tell the truth, that's not really changing what they understood, what he really wanted them to do. Over here, there's no interaction at all. I mean, from as much as I know, all we know is that Turtleboy was leading these parades and going on his YouTube channel and talking about the case. As much as we know, there was no real interaction. There's definitely no friendship. There's definitely no business relationship between Turtleboy and any of the Alberts and the McCabe's. So I'm just saying, even this argument where the judge is saying that, oh, you see, the tell the truth could also be construed as witness intimidation, you can definitely already see the difference between the one case that he cites in support of that ruling against Turtleboy and what actually happened in Turtleboy's case where they're charging him with witness intimidation. So I thought that was an interesting part of the opinion, and a lot of people are wondering about it. So now you see we're saying things like tell the truth is considered witness intimidation, whereas opposed to you can argue that what Turtleboy did was not the same at all in which we just saw in that case in Cruzado and Sueves and all those players in that case. But that is at least the take on that part of the witness intimidation charges. Again, what the judge really was, there's other parts of the opinion where the judge is saying, well, if you take everything, all of his actions into context, well, then you can interpret some of his actions to mean that he's trying to intimidate the witnesses to testify a certain way. And again, as national trial lawyer Solomon Radner said, you're going to have to relitigate the Karen Reed case, because if Turtleboy is just trying to tell them to actually say the truth of what happened in this case, which was that he was not hit by a car and that there's some sort of cover-up, and you're going to have to relitigate that again, we saw already how that went in the previous trial. And that's not going to be very good for the Commonwealth in Turtleboy's case either. So that is in terms of this specific allegation of witness intimidation. So that's going to be it for today's video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and like, and we will see you at the next video. Take care.